Hey, what's up? Welcome back for another week of Next Level UX. And this week we're focused on leadership. So we're going to look at five key areas, five key disciplines: the founders, the family, the coach, the athlete, and the creator. And we're going to dial in a system to support these disciplines and these responsibilities and focus in and dive in on leadership today. So sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, grab your favorite notepad, and we're going to dive right into it. So let's get started. So the first question is, how many of you would say you're actually leading well right now? Would you say that you're understanding how you can be influential, but also be courageous in the actions that your team or you take on a daily, weekly, quarterly, annual basis? And as you notice, the more you develop in your career, you'll notice that leadership is not something that you bolt on, it's something you become. And you become a leader through channeling and modeling the type of behavior and the energy and responsibility that you expect. So, if you're a coach, for example, or an athlete, creator, a family member, you want to be able to know inside of this group that I am within, how am I going to be better at the systems that support these people and create the better systems, whether it's a digital system or a communication system or a routine or a ritual or some form of structure that you've created as a leader. You have that to support you. Then you have the tooling. The tooling is, how are we training our people? How are we learning about things? How are we communicating things? How are we creating plans and structure? You have the tooling side. The most important thing is just the people side of leadership. And the people side of leadership is also so critical because you need to understand the people around you. How do you do that? You do a simple audit. And if you do a simple audit, it's just as simple as drawing a circle, and it could be you as a coach or you as the player or you as the team, and then drawing all the people that are in your circle around the circle, and then thinking about the needs, the wants, the desires of those groups of people, and trying to lead and influence a larger some of those people to do certain things. Now, hopefully and honorably, you are choosing and modeling the behavior that helps your team win, but does it in an honorable way and also does it in a thoughtful way. Being able to grow a team or to grow an organization or grow an environment is what leadership is all about. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So I hope you're excited and hope you're ready to dive right into what it means to become an incredible leader. Leadership is not only about leading other people, it's about leading yourself. Think about all the times where you could have been a better leader. Think about all the times where you're trying to figure out how to learn how to be a better leader. And think about all the times where you saw somebody modeling incredible behavior as a leader, and then try to remember times where you've seen somebody that you thought was a leader modeling behavior that you don't necessarily agree with as a leader. So leadership comes in all shapes and sizes. You can be a founder leader, you could be a family leader, you could be a coach leader, you could be an athlete leader, and you can also be a creator leader. Now, just because there's so many different ways to look at leadership doesn't mean it's time to get overwhelmed. What it means is it's time to learn about the systems, the tools, and the people responsibilities that are tied to becoming a better leader. So today's session is about breaking down those fundamentals of learnings that you need to understand in order to have better influence and better courage as you show up as a leader in your organization, your team, your family, or wherever you are. So let's dive in to today's training. So I'm going to first start inside of my tool called Next Level UX. I'm going to swim over to the dashboard of the platform. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here so you can see everything. Now, this week we're inside of the 10th pillar of the leadership training. We went through a whole library of learning from clarity down to goals, action, planning, practice. These were the foundations for just any growth and getting to that next level. Then we shifted over into our execution pillars where we are learning about design energy, design clarity, design productivity, and design impact. And we've collected that so that we can ship better, ship faster, ship more incongruent with the things that we're trying to work on. And then we're now trying to make it stick with our mastery program. And we focus on purpose last week. Now we're focused on leadership. The next 2 weeks, we'll focus on tools, people, and systems, which will be amplifier for what I'm about to drop in to share with you right now. And then we'll look at reflection as a whole. Now, all of these are opportunities for you to learn a little bit more and increase your awareness for who you are and how you show up. But today, as we dive into leadership, it is vital and very important. Come over here. That you start imagining and thinking about, well, what is great leadership look like? Have you ever tried to map out what the influence paradigm looks like in your ecosystem, in your company, in your team, in your family? Have you thought about, naming these leadership practices that you should probably be following and practicing and getting better at? And do you know what the cost of the silence is, like not speaking up, not holding high standards for yourself and for your community, and what that will actually cause? And then I'd like to encourage you also to take that first action today in leadership. And the first action is actually just doing the work. To do the work, though, we have to go back to the basics and remember, well, why are we trying to be a better founder, have a better family, a better coach experience, a better athlete experience, or even a better creator experience? Like, we will need to work with other people, and in that process, we will need to model better leadership. So, how do you do that? So I'm going to take you over into Figma, and I'm going to make sure I'm sharing the right Figma. It always defaults a screen just to make sure I'm not sharing the wrong thing. And then we're going to focus on leadership today. So I'll be working in this rest of the session inside of Figma. That way you can just follow along and kind of map out and build anything that you wanted to build here. If we're focused on leadership first, remember when we were first starting out this conversation, I said, in order to be a better leader, you have to be able to lead yourself, be a better leader for yourself, make better decisions for yourself. You have to be able to lead yourself before you can lead others. And to be able to lead yourself better, you need to be able to understand yourself better. How do you understand yourself better? You have to map out the systems and the tooling and the people around you so that you can just understand your existing paradigm a little bit better. So to first do that, you can dive in to the big six. And that was in the clarity week, right? So if you haven't done this work, or if you did it 10 weeks ago, go back in and refresh your mind and spirit and go in and tap into, like, okay, what is my purpose? What are my priorities? What are the opportunities around me? How am I going to show up? What way do I want to interact with other people, or teach other people, or communicate with other people? And then ultimately, what does success look like? Success is different for a lot of different people and different things. So get clear on what that looks like, what it feels like. Can you imagine it? Can you visualize it? Once you can do that and you can start writing things down around these things, you start to build a little bit more awareness on where your aim is going to actually end up being. Then, just like any measurement, you measure on a certain time frame or window. So as a leader, you can think about, okay, well, my days, my weeks, and my quarters, and my annual summaries of things, how am I being measured for my work that I do? You might be a coach and you might want to be able to coach more seasons. If you're an athlete, you want to be able to continue playing or get a scholarship. If you're a creator, you might be trying to think about your next big giant creative project. All of those are still surrounded by systems, by tooling, and by people. So I'm going to come back to that, because today we're going to be able to work through that from a leadership perspective and think about, for the crew that I'm trying to drive influence to and build courage and amplify in each one of those individuals, how am I going to do it? How am I going to set them up for ultimate success? I'm going to understand my days, my weeks, my months. I'm also going to take stock and be very mindful and very thoughtful about the schedules, the systems, the rituals, and routines that I'm putting in place that help support the team that I want to help grow, to help support the energy that I'm trying to model. And if I can do that, then I can be a lot more thoughtful and a lot more intentional about that process and those actions. And once I can do that, now I can think about, okay, well, are those things that I'm trying to push forward and move forward with my teams and my companies and my work, are they also aligned with what I want to do in my career and my passions and my projects and personal? They don't have to be 100% identical, but you do need a reality check on what it is that you're doing with your life and how you're going to be spending that time and energy. Now, some might say, I keep my work and my life separate. And that's completely fine. You can separate all the things. And if you're really good at compartmentalizing, you can get away with this. But how I've seen the most success in the people that I've worked with over the last 20 years and the best teams and the best creators and people, they're doing better service for themselves by understanding these things for who they are and how they want to show up. They're doing a disservice if they're ignoring it and thinking, well, I'll work on my passion projects when I'm like in my 50s. I'll go get that RV or that trip. I'll do that trip when I'm like, retired. And they think about it way later as if they can just take on those things in a decade from now. But why not work towards those things in a decade? If you're trying to build something that's meaningful, it takes time. You have to play that long game, especially if you're a coach, an athlete, creator. You're not just playing for one season, you're playing for a whole career and a whole lifeline of events and activities and experiences. And as a leader, you have to think beyond just the daily win. You have to think beyond just the weekly win. You need to think about the compound effects that can happen from creating better systems, better rituals, better routines for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for your team, for your loved ones, for your work. You have to think about those things. Today, we're mapping those things out, right? So if you know what those things are, remember as a leader, you don't want chaos inside your team. You don't want to be dramatic. You want to be organized. You want to be structured. You want to be proficient. You want to be a Michelin star operation, not stressed, but poised, ready. You can anticipate the move. You can see where you need to pass the ball. You can be prepared and ready. If you're prepared and ready, then you can have better influence for how you're showing up in those moments. You can have more courage because you actually prepared, like watching game tapes, like getting in the gym and doing the workout, like practicing your penmanship as a creator, practicing the things that you're learning and how they can combine with other things. That's why, again, we'll come back today to systems, tools, and people, because that grouping is going to be vital for how we grow. Now, if I come back to the website and I go to the profile, if I go up to the top and go to the profile, there's this diagram. And this diagram is really important to the whole system because when we come back and we're thinking about, okay, well, between people and tools, there's feedback mechanisms happening. Between people and systems, there's processes happening. I need to learn those. Between the tools and the systems, there's direction happening. Who is directing and how are we moving things forward? Because you don't want to let the machines just run you and rule you. You have to be the director, the commander of the ship. And you also need to be thinking about that as a leader, thinking about your own ship. Remember, you have to be able to lead yourself before you can lead others. And if you can do that, and then we can come back to Figma and we're thinking about, well, great, we got this flow. We know how we want to move our team. Now we have to build maturity around that. To build maturity around that, we have to build better practices. To build better practices, we need to know what it is that we actually need to practice. You are playing soccer, or you're playing football, or you're playing baseball, or you're a founder of a health startup, or you're a founder of a personal development startup. You're a founder or creator of a electric company, or you're a founder of a construction company. There's different needs, there's different desires, there's different service design that's prepared for each of those different industries. So if you can master the systems around the industry, the people around the industry, and the systems around the industry, the tools, people, and systems, you can support that system way better. And you can build practices that actually can compound and support it. So as you do that, you can see the practice can get better. So what we're doing is we're building clarity. We're trying to build in better repetition so that you can practice the things. We're trying to build in better feedback mechanisms that be able to help you keep getting better. The reflection practices aren't just like a monthly or annual thing. They are actually happening daily so that you can pivot on a weekly basis. You learn 5 days in a row, or 3 games in a row, or 2 experiences in a row, you learn, then you can pivot. And then if you get really good at synthesizing the information that comes into you or the surrounding elements that are happening, then you can actually make real change. Real change, no nonsense, real change, because you're not just making things up. You're actually using quantitative and qualitative feedback in order to make something better. That goes for the 3 categories. It goes for tools, people, and systems, because you can understand what's working, what's not working inside those things. But you got to wake up and you got to understand it. Then we keep going down and we thinking about that energy we want to create. Remember that this is the long game. And if you were to plot yourself on the map of your age and the days, the mornings, the evenings, the afternoons, the actions that you're trying to take on, the milestones that will build up over time, the months that you will work towards it, the years that you will advance it and compound it. And remember that all of these actions can be compounding if you have structured systems underneath them. And when you do that, you want to be able to collaborate and move through things together. So this is the primary diagram that teaches this framework, where you start with the people that you work with. Now think about, write down in a circle, or if you could draw this out, who are all the people that you're going to support today, this week? It could be your team, could be your school, it could be your company. You got all the people in there, and you're going to be there to support them. Leaders need to take that responsibility to care for others and have empathy for others, and to also learn about their needs, desires, wants, their true problems. Because remember, without identifying the problems, you can't just make up better opportunities. You don't want to solve the wrong problems. You want to solve the right problems thoughtfully, efficiently, and get in and get out and go on and do other things. There's so many things that you could be doing with your time. So you want to make sure that you're efficient here when you're dealing with people and dealing with their time. Then on the flip side of this, over on the tool side, if you don't know what tools are being used, you don't know actually what the output is going to end up being. If you get really crisp, really clear on the artifacts that are being used and able to move something forward, you can quickly decide, is it needed or is it just waste? If it's waste, consider pivoting to not use it. If it's internal use only as a leader, that's okay. You can use things internally, but remember to rationalize the uses of the things that you create, so that as a designer and as a founder, as a coach, as an athlete, as a family member, you're not creating waste. Waste is not good. Then we have the underlying foundations of the systems that support us. When we're talking about days, weeks, months, those are all calculated systems that we're either deciding what we're going to do, our 9 to 5, or it could be 9 to 3, 9 to 2, whatever your hours of operation are. For when you're diving in and jumping into a project, learn your systems. And underneath learning your systems, I have 4 key areas of thinking that I want you to consider as you step into your next level of leadership. And one would be, how might you level up your systems thinking for how you're showing up? Your systems thinking could be this, the understanding of like how systems work around you. You could start by just learning the company that you work with. You can start learning about the companies that your company engages with and buys and maybe purchases, the services that you have purchased. You can also do that for your local, state, and federal government. You can learn about the systems around us that help govern and make decisions. And then once you know those things, just underlying foundations of how things work, then you can start leveling in product thinking. How can we create a product that serves or solves a certain problem? If you learn what the problems are, then you can come up with potential hypotheses that can actually go and solve that problem. And leadership is about shepherding. It's about shepherding a problem or a concept or direction and leading it from a start to a finish line. And then remember that it might be a finish line, but there's still going to be continuous growth after that fact. So product thinking is about learning how to sell, market, and produce meaningful solutions that solve actual real world problems, right? Then there's the design thinking. So it's not just about what you build and how it's being used, it's about why it's being built and designed in the first place. Thinking about the artifact, and is it actually serving and solving a real business problem? And is it contributing to the greater whole or greater society? Or is it hurting society in some way. Being thoughtful and learning about those things can be considered design thinking. And then life thinking to me is just learning about the fundamentals of growing food, the fundamentals of clean water, the fundamentals of electricity, the fundamentals of things around us, so that when we live and we show up, we actually can learn about things that are around us and not try to just be like, I don't want to try to dive into learn things. You need to learn those things so that you can become a better operator and get to that next level leadership. So once we have these elements like the systems thinkings, the product thinking, design thinking, life thinking, those are underlying systems that we're learning. And now it's time to go play and figure out what the field looks like. So as we do that, we still keep learning in our people side and our process side so that we can get better at how we move information and do better knowledge sharing across the things that we do. We get better at sharing information with our team and working through that. We also, as we're working through more information and sharing projects and working through key milestones and doing quarterly planning and building, or these are builder projects, builder things. Once we do know what those things are, we get better at planning, we get better at focusing. And since we're over here now, we're working on influence and courage, communication and leadership, and we're working through all the different things. And you can see some of the history even of me as a catcher, being a leader and thinking through, and this is a picture of me during warm-ups. And as a catcher, as being an athlete, you learn how to command your voice and command to be vocal about something, that the ball could be a first baseman's ball or a pitcher's ball. You can call it because you can see the entire field. And you can also be backing up and doing different things simultaneously while play is happening. And baseball is filled with those types of moments, and every sport is filled with those types of experiences, and every job and discipline is filled with opportunities as long as you're listening, as long as you're paying attention. And if you're paying attention, then you can have a lot more what I call purpose by design. And that's where we focused on last week. And what's really important, because purpose will help you play that long game, but it will also make sure that you're working towards something meaningful. If you're working through something meaningful, when the work gets really hard, it gets really difficult, it enables you to want to keep going. It gives you a little bit more of that courage and that influence. But beyond getting a little bit more of that purpose, so you can understand why you should do what you do and it drives you, you got to come back to this key word: to lead and be a shepherd. To do that. And to do that, remember we were talking about these three core things. So we called it, so we have systems, tools. So if you wanted to win and understand how to win, the first thing we have to do is we have to map these things. So what you could do is you could literally go into like Claude Code or ChatGPT. Claude Code probably is the fastest way to do this. And you can put in your business website, your company website, and ask for a large scale. So the ask is for a extensive, comprehensive, let's make this a lot smaller, so it's extensive, comprehensive audit of my X business, how it makes money, loses money, what problems it is solving, and what are the biggest opportunities. I mean, I like big prompts like this because, let me come up to it and make it a little bit bigger now so you can read it. So I said, an extensive, comprehensive audit of my X business. So you could just put your business, and then you could ask for an non-generic HTML responsive deck that teaches me everything I should know to be a world-class operator. Now, this is one example. Just one example. You could ask your prompt, you could get a response. Now, there's other ways to amplify this even more. So this is like one solid way. To amplify, you might ask to add in your next level. And this is things that I've created. I have 100x skill. So I have a skill that's called that, and that will help amplify it in one way. I also have another one That's called Think Big. From a friend, gave this one. I have another one from a next, and that comes in as an operator. So I have different skills that I've developed inside of these tools that I've used, these AI tools that help amplify a prompt. And amplification is it's going to read through a massive context of systems that I've created. So I have a skill that has just, this is just one example, and it has operating identities inside. So it's a 30x principal product strategist, a high performance coach, a creator economist strategist, a premium content engine, a reflection and mastery coach, a senior design system operator, an AI workflow architect, a product lead growth partner, executive or execution systems designer, and a founder level strategic operator. Let's go. So this is just an example of how deep you can go with a skill. If you can go this deep with a skill, imagine the type of leadership and compound effect that you can have for your team if you're equipped with a better framework, a better system, a better tooling to be able to think through and prepare and anticipate the things that you typically haven't been able to do because you haven't had the coaching to do it. So you don't know what to expect, you don't know what you don't know. And if you haven't been in the room and you don't understand what I'm talking about, that this is the opportunity for you to unlock and learn a little bit more about it. So this is just an example of a skill. So one layer of learning systems and becoming a better systems thinker, this deck and what it will produce will help you understand way more about your company, way more about an industry. You can do this for industries. You can do this for your company. You can do this for your sports team. You can do this for anything. So great. Now that we have that, let's go into another ask that we can do for our tooling. So what are some tooling asks that would help us magnify and amplify our leadership abilities? So, as tooling and really important parts of tools, you got to have really good ways to communicate the things that you're learning in your tools to be able to move things forward. So, you have knowledge sharing. You also need, on top of really great communication, you need to establish your norms around those tools. You need to also establish in your leadership abilities with your tools on the consolidation, because you don't want to use email, chat, and then another completely different things for all random different things. You want to have structure. So you're going to email at certain times. You're going to send certain responses at certain windows of time so that it's consistent and it's formal and it makes sense. If you're always reactionary of how you communicate back with people, it trains them to make that think that's normal. And that could create chaos, and not necessarily, it's not going to, it doesn't mean chaos. Chaos is a tough word, but it can create instability for how people are receiving your passes. So if you're constantly in a position where you have to communicate quickly to customers or to your team, how you deliver that information matters. The leadership capabilities that you have witnessed or experienced in the room, those could be amplified and improved if you understand the delivery and the sequence and how you're using tools to communicate those things. And soccer coaches and baseball coaches and all sorts of coaches and founders and teams use different tools for this. So the first thing that you need to do as a leader is learn what these tools are and think about, okay, maybe we need to consolidate them. Maybe we need to understand how we're communicating. What's the communication style? The other one is, okay, what tools are we using to collaborate? Inside design land, we use tools like Figma. We're using Figma right now to document, to teach, and tell a story. So great, you should probably know what they are. You should also know which ones we're going to be doing output with and which ones we're going to be doing intake with. You might use different elements to record something that you're doing. And then once you record it like a researcher, you need to synthesize it. You need to break it down. You need to understand what you learned from it. What was the conversation about? Could it be clearer and more broken down so you understand it a little bit better? So those are very important parts of understanding your tooling. So you got tools that communicate, you got tools that you can collaborate with. You might have the consolidation of tools, but what you don't want to do is just give complete control and power and not really understand the tools that you've been given. So if you have a tool today that you've gotten access to and you're a leader, make today the day that you actually go in and read the help information about that tool. If it's Figma, go read the help site, see what it's capable of. If you're in marketing and you're starting to learn more about Figma, go learn the help side of Figma. If you're in social media and you need to learn the different social media tools that are out there, go learn Buffer, go learn what other great social media people are doing. You have to learn the tools in order to be a better leader and how to shepherd those tools and those executions of those things. You don't have to be a CTO to do this. You can just be a human, go on the internet and do the audit and understand what these things are. So if you haven't yet done an audit too of, okay, how's my team communicating? How am I consulting? If you're the leader having to make the decisions too, you should have a format on how you want to show up and what kind of leader you want to be. If you did clarity in the homework on the first week, this will be a lot easier for you. But if not, just go do the work on week one and then you'll be in a great spot. But for tools, we got communication tools, we got collaboration tools. You know what else we need? We need to be able to have a continuous learning mindset so that when we are getting ready to try to have influence, we need to understand the new things that are coming into the market or the new things that are happening. So you have to also have some form of an edge. So how do you have an edge in your tools? You need to continuously learn them. And sometimes I'll be like, I don't want to keep learning these tools. I don't want to learn how to farm. I don't want to learn how to manage bees. I don't want to learn how to make a barrel sauna. I don't want to know how to grow an orchard, whatever, whatever it is. You're learning tools to be able to help you do these things. So you have to keep learning so you can keep evolving. And if you're not in the business of evolving and continuous learning, then leadership might not be the thing for you. And that's okay. You can be a follower and you can just follow other people. But if you are going to follow somebody, make sure that leader actually cares and actually is doing the work. It might feel a little rough, but you want to find people that want to support your dreams and support your ambitions. And you want somebody that's going to keep learning and growing with you. Even if they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, you want somebody that's going to learn and pick leaders that are open to questions and open to learning and continuously learning, growing. So if you got these things, great. So you can ask ChatGPT or you can ask Claude Code or any of your favorite AI tools about these things with the tools that you use. Just put in and list out some of the tools that you use and ask for a simple learning plan on how you could. So I could be like, help me learn better ways to amplify my work with Figma, Claude Code, OpenAI, whatever tool is your favorite, X, Grok. Let's see what else could be. It could be any of the tools that you're using. Just help me map my discipline to this tooling system thinking. There we go. So we got a nice little formation starting. So we're starting to think about tools and a skill for this. The same thing could be helpful in the skills that we've created. Now, from the people side of things, I want to get super specific and then we'll try to wrap this thing up and jump into questions. But if you got people across your different organizations, say, boom, and we got school, we got corp, you got family. Let's call them future friends, future peeps. Let's call it future people. People that you haven't met yet, but you will meet because of connections. So we have this system here. So when you think about your people, you're a leader, right? In order to work through your leadership fundamentals, your leadership practices, how many times have you actually gone in and done an audit of these people and been like, wow, do I need to remove some of these people? They're not really helping me. They're not really being beneficial to me. They're actually making me feel horrible. Or they're not really supporting me, or they're not really supporting what I'm trying to create. And it depends on what your goals are and what your things are, but you need to make sure that you're protecting your energy, protecting your capabilities of what you're trying to contribute back to your family, your friends, society, all these different things. So in order to have a layer of understanding of who's in and who's out of the circle, you might need to be thinking about your principles as a leader. What do you stand for? What do you believe? What are things that you would in self rules? I'll just call it, instead of policy, let's call it self rules. Things that you are just not going to do. An example of this might be earlier in my career at Meta and Facebook, and there's a lot of after work get togethers. And typically at those get togethers, even at LinkedIn, there's alcohol and drinking. And at that time, I had a 6-year-old son, and at that time, and didn't necessarily want to be able to, didn't want to be going home having a few beers or a beer, and him like being like, "What's that smell?" And I didn't want him to get used to it, so I just basically told myself that I'm not going to be that parent or that dad that drinks alcohol. And then it just turned into a decision, and so we don't have it in the house, and we don't want to become normal for our son. And that was a decision. That's a leadership decision, and I would tailor it to a family leadership decision. It also is great because clear head, clear mind, clear body, clear mind, clear spirit, and nothing against alcohol and not doing it, but it's just a choice. So you make the choice and you live in the choice. Leadership is about making those choices and shepherding that energy throughout an entire project or entire sequence of time or events. So you want to be able to have strong principles and standards, self rules, and then prolific actions. So, how do great leaders stick in their leadership positions and make big moves? The best athletes in the world, the best coaches and leaders, they take a stance, they believe in something, and they get rally people behind them, and they support what they create. And then they get more people to support what they create. You need to be able to take prolific actions and have the ability to step into a difficult situation and stay poised, calm, cool, collected through that moment. And if you can do that, then you're on your path to become an incredible next level leader. But it definitely takes an awareness of who are you trying to support in this unit. And if you can create a strong brick foundation underneath, and you can start building on these principles, you can start building on these self rules, then you can start building out excellent routines that support that, even rituals to celebrate those moments and those standards and those creative things that you do. And you believe it, there's incredible people out there in the country, in the world, and there's no shortage of leaders. And there are incredible leaders out there and that have inspired me and been great role models for me. And I just hope that at the end of this session, you're feeling a little bit more inspired about how you can become a better leader for your team so that you can have a little bit more influence when you're showing up. Because remember that preparation leads to increasing your confidence. If you can increase your confidence because you're more prepared for a situation, then you can have a little bit more influence. But remember, still got to have a strong foundation because people can read through the nonsense. You got to have those rituals, those routines, establish those norms and those principles with your units, with your people. Introduce self rules of standards of things that you do. If you end up having a meeting, you're going to follow up after that meeting. You end up saying you're going to do something, make sure that you end up doing that thing. If you're going to have a schedule, make sure you follow the schedule. Have discipline, have some structure. And remember, if I even scrolled back up to that map that I originally had that helps structure this, on the very top left, we have motivation and discipline. Right? You're going to have motivation and discipline with these people. When you think about systems and tools, you got to have the ability to be able to expect something, to be able to have esteem to go try it, and the efficacy to be able to learn it. And then when it comes to tooling, you still got to be able to leverage all that ambition that you have and aim it. So you're not just aim randomly. You got to be able to have attention for the details, and then to be able to create incredible effect, you have to imagine it. You have to believe in it. That's why storytelling is so magical. If you can create it and you can visualize it and you can create it. But remember, as creators, as makers, that that incredible skill to be able to make something comes with great responsibility. So have fun doing it, be at your very best. And remember, when you're trying to just get in, you're trying to ramp up and learn things, you can come back to the Next Level UX platform, go to the profile, and just look at your score, see how you're performing, see what you're doing. You can retake these assessments. And then when you want to come in and just learn and keep developing those skills, you can come over, make that bigger. You can come over and we'll have the leadership training right here. You can come in and do your homework and complete some of the first assignments. So the first assignment for you is the first major project that you're going to be a better leader at. How do you want to show up in a little bit more influence, a little bit more courage in that moment? The second question is, what's your second major project that you're going to be taking on? And how can you define it, write it out, just get a little bit more clear? And then the third major project. And once you do that, then you'll have this solid foundation for where you're going to practice having a little bit more influence, a little bit more courage. And you can download the homework if you want to. It's always going to be there. And the questions here, I'll just copy these too so you can see. These are some of the types of questions that you'll be asked. And here, I'll take it over actually into my journal and I'll show you. So I got my journal and these are some of the questions. So I'll just read through it really quick. So I still have to complete it, right? So practice how you play. This is your first project where you need to show up and courage and influence. So what is the project? Be specific about what you're working on, what success looks like, why this matters, why is this project important, what's impact will it have, who will benefit from this work. Where courage is required, where is the project do you need to be courageous? Difficult conversations, maybe some bold decisions, taking a risk, speaking up, leading when things are uncertain. So these are all really great prompts and great questions. So I would encourage you to read through it and try to answer some of these questions and get after it. After you've done that, you can always come back in and do a little discovery with our pro experience, or you can come in and literally make a plan. So I can make a plan and call it leadership, and then I could come in and add some sub items that are going to help me break down the things that I'm going to try. So remember, I was talking about people, I was talking about tools, and I just want you to create a little bit more awareness about these things, right? So tools, people, tools, and systems. And then once you have this foundation, okay, I'm going to go focus and I'm going to practice some of these things. You have a little note here. You can ask the AI to amplify it a little bit, so it'll give you an analysis of what you could be doing. You can add those items to your plan and just go practice. Next Level UX is about practicing these fundamentals. So define your leadership goals. These are some examples. I'm going to add, schedule a leadership practice session. Great idea. Read a leadership article. Great idea. Connect with a mentor. Great idea. Develop a leadership system plan. Great. These are 5 incredible ideas. So now they're in my plan, and now I can actually go do the work. You can also take notes on the right side. You can share this with a friend or family or whoever, or you can just strictly download it if you just want to download that file. And then it will have everything in a nice, clean, organized write-up for you. Here, I'll actually show you really quick. I'll just copy that. And this is exactly the format that it prints out when you download it. So it's a really nice, clean format for you. Oh yeah, here, let me move my face over. There it is. You can see it right here to the right. There you go, there you have it. So it's some other ways that you can use the platform to get the most out of it, and this was called leadership. So it's all WYSIWYG, really easy to use and manage. And then we'll come back and we'll end up having the replay up for leadership here. This was a super fun session. I hope you got a lot out of it. And remember that as you go in, you're a founder, you're a coach, you're an athlete, you're a family member, you're a creator, you're working through the most important projects of your life. Play the long game. And then remember that if you can play the long game and understand your systems, your tools, and the people around you, and just start building that really strong foundational grounds to work off of, you'll start to see that there's so much beauty in these systems, and if you can understand them and work in them, you can just reach a whole nother higher level of success. You can design better days, you can design better plans, you can have a ton of fun in your creatorship, and just know that I'm rooting for you and supporting you. And you can always check back inside the Next Level UX platform and keep growing. It's going to be fun. We're going to do it together. So next week, we're going to be focused on tools, people, and systems. I hope you have an amazing 4th of July holiday, and we'll see you back next week. All right. See ya.